Hello there fellas, and welcome back to how to Android Soundboard. So today in this video we want to play a sound for the first time, and for that one we want to also create a little class called Sound Object that will give us all information we need, like the name of the sound or the item resource ID and like. So, well, let's just begin, and we're going into our app folder, Java, and we're creating a new class, as I said, called Sound Object. And we want to define some private fields. Private string for the name, and it's called item name. And a private integer item ID for the resource ID. So then just create a constructor that will get a string item name and an integer item ID. Just set the private fields to the variables we will get from the constructor. First let me set the item name, and this dot in item ID equals to item ID. So and the last thing we want to do here in this class, we want to add some methods that some gather methods like public string get item name, so we'll have access to this information and it will return the item name, and also a public integer get item ID that will be called return item ID. So that's it for this little class, and this one is really ultra efficient if we want to get some information and we don't want to, well, hardcode everything. So let's just go on and modify our recycler adapter, because we don't want a string array anymore. We want to have an array list filled with sound objects. So just import the array list, and this also will be an array list of sound object. So now we have some errors here, like can't go on with length, we have to use a size, and we also have to set a text again. But before we do that, we want to define a temporary sound object instance for every position, and therefore we call that a final sound object equals to the sound objects on the position of the view, and then we just can call that by giving it the object dot get item name. Okay, that's it for this recycler adapter, and we also have to modify our soundboard activity, because we don't need a string array anymore. We will need an array list again, filled with sound object. We'll call that also sound list, and that equals to a new array list. And to fill that, we first want to get the sounds and the names. So for the sounds I just got some random well, random sounds like this one.
Danger zone!
This one. And
Bing bing bong.
so, and we will put them into our resource folder, Shotgun Explorer, and we have to create a new folder that's called raw, and we will put every sound a sound file we want to have in our app in there. I'm just getting them here, and I'm using MP3, but maybe you can also use WAV or like. So I don't know, but I'm using MP3 and it's working really fine. Okay, and we also want to define the names of the buttons. So for that one, we're going into our strings XML and define a new string array with the name sound names. We'll fill it with some items. Like the first one is danger zone. The second is air horn. And the third is bing bong. So these are our names. And now we just have to add them into the array list here. So we're doing this here in the onCreate method by just getting the names from the strings file and also the files from the raw folder. And we're beginning with our names. And for that one we will create a list filled with strings. We call that name list, just import list, and we will get that one from arrays.aslist get resources dot get string array, and we'll give it the ID of our string array was oh no, not the ID, the array. So sound names, and now we have our names saved in this list. So the next step is we're creating like a help array of sound objects, and we call that one sound items, that we will fill with some sound objects. New sound object, and now we need a name, and we're doing that by calling the name list and getting the position of null, so the first position, and we also need an ID that we'll get through our resources.raw.audio1, and we can just copy and paste that one 2 times and change the numbers like 1, 2, 2 and 3. So and now we just have to add those entries into our array list. So just type sound list dot add all arrays dot aslist sound items. So if we rerun that, we should get our app back again. So there it is, with our names of the buttons and no functions, but we also want to play the sounds in this video, so let's go on to that. So to do that, we want to add a on-click listener to our Soundboard recycle adapter here in the onBind view holder. We're doing that by just typing holder dot item view dot set on click listener. Create a new on click listener, and also implement the methods if it doesn't do that automatically. Before we add something to that on click listener, we want to create another class that will handle all user interaction events under cycle view items. So just right click there, new Java class, and we'll call that event handler class, and we're giving it a private static final string, a log tag to log errors if they occur. So event handler, and we need a private instance of the class media player that will help us to play the sounds. So, and we call it just MP. Now we need two methods, one to start the media player and one that will release all data from the media player well, when it's done, or just when the activity stops. So first let us create the start method, public static void start media player. This one needs a view to get context. We could also just hand over the context, but I want to do that with the view, and an integer with the sound ID. And we want to try something with a try block, and then just catch an exception and lock the error with the log tag. And failed to initialize there's so initialize media player plus get message. Okay, so we first want to check if the sound ID isn't null, so we can play a sound with that ID. And we also want to check if the media player is null, so it is used. And if that's the case, we want to just reset it, not release it, just reset the media player. And if it isn't, we want to define the media player as mediaplayer.create by context v.getContext and a sound ID, and then just start the media player by typing mp.start. So we can now use this function, but before we do that, let us create the release function, public static void release media player, and that will first check if the media player isn't null or is in use, then just releases it and set it to null. Okay, so now we go back into our Soundboard recycler adapter and our onClick and add an event handler class dot start media player. Give over the view and the sound ID. Just do this by defining it, final integer sound ID equals to object.getItemID, and give it over here, sound ID. And in our Soundboard activity, we want to override the onDestroy method. And that will just call event handler class dot release media player. So, and we run that on our device. Let's try it.
Danger zone! Bing bing bong.
Works perfect. So that's it for this video. Be sure to leave a like or a comment down below if I helped you. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.